been kind of going on with the healthcare industry in regards to environmental sustainability. The biggest challenge, I guess, in the healthcare industry has been the reduction of reusable products and equipment, and the increase in the single-use products and packaging. And this has been something that I have been challenged a lot by a lot of really, passionate, keen nurses and staff that really want to make a difference. They've gone, well, we've got so much packaging coming through now because, we have this plastic item and it only gets used once and it's hardly ever contaminated. And how can we recycle this? And there are so many challenges that are being faced right now in the in the industry, in the world with recycling. I think the best way was to try to give you guys a bit of a background as to how the recycling industry works. Everyone sits and goes, but this product here can be recycled. Why are we not recycling this? And that very much could come back to the fact that there may not be a market for it. So every recyclable product is a commodity and it's treated as such. The ability to recycle certain products that everybody will just go, well, that's such a easy recyclable product, was polystyrene. Now, the guy that I sent all my polystyrene to from hospitals is still taking it, but he melts it down, puts in containers, and right now he's just stockpiling it. So it used to go to, I think, Vietnam, he melts it down, sends it down, and then they do another process to it where they turn it into beads that could then be used to in picture frames and other sort of plastic items like that. And his end user for that was America. But due to COVID, America's not buying. So then the guy in Vietnam is not buying the product from my supply, my recyclable polystyrene guy down here in Brisbane. So the sort of supply chain gets impacted. And if we go to the next slide, please. And there's a reason why I sort of started talking about all of this, is because there are a lot of single-use items that can be recycled. And I'm really sorry, Heather, but I'm going to flick between this slide and the next one. So we pop to the next slide, and I think somebody asked me about KimGuard, and this sort of leads into KimGuard. So KimGuard can be recycled. Absolutely. There's a place down in Melbourne that recycles it, but there is nowhere here in Queensland. And I have rung and chased and hunted everywhere for somebody to melt it down for us and take it, and it gets then turned into, I guess, like outdoor furniture and the likes. But there's just nobody here in Brisbane, especially, or New South Wales, that is recycling KimGuard. So although the product can be recycled, if there's no market for it, then it's a cost to do it. And there's always a cost, it just doesn't magically turn into another product. The other ones that you'll be struggling with, and you can see in these current pictures, is the packaging that a lot of these products come in. On some, they're just like a clear, soft plastic, and that can be recycled as long as it's the scrunch technique. If you can scrunch it, it can go into the soft plastic bin. If it scrunches and bounces back, it has to go in general waste. It's just the way that life goes. But if it has a big sticker on it, then that's probably got to go in general waste because it's got two different type products. A lot of the packaging love to use that waxy paper. We can't recycle that. So that's got to go into general waste. But so then you can see there on this screen, you can also see there's the Baxter's PVC, the tubing. That can be recycled, but you've got to pull the hard plastic off that. So it just does need to be separated. So, and then it also can't be contaminated with body fluids or the like. So it's a bit tricky. And then you'll see this white coiled tube. I'm assuming it's like a tube that you guys use. And that can be recycled, but then it also cannot be recycled. It depends on the use. So if that goes inside a human body, we can't recycle it. But if you flip back to the last screen, sorry. The screen before. Yep. If it doesn't go into a human body, we can recycle that. That can go into your hard plastic. But all these items here pretty much can be recycled. But then we also have you'll have your own internal challenges. So one hospital that I know, one of the hospitals I know is the clear kidney dish. If it has bodily fluids in it, you can't recycle that, even if you wipe it down. But if it doesn't, then obviously that can go into recycling. So there's so many items that you guys use. And I guess one of the challenges you find is, how do you know if it's recyclable? How do you know if that can go into the mixed recycling, your hard plastic? We are trying to develop solutions for that to make your lives easier. And I'll go through that at the very end. But right now, it's literally just, if it's clean, it doesn't have bodily fluid, it's a hard plastic, it can go into your mixed recycling. If you scrunch it and it doesn't bounce back, it goes into your, and it doesn't have stickers or anything, it can go into your soft plastics. They're the kind of guidelines, I guess, you sort of go by. But then I guess if you're a theatre nurse, how many bins do you have in a theatre room? Soft plastics is different to your hard plastics. You can't mix those two because it's contamination. So you really got to start weighing up how much time you have to separate as well. And this is always a big factor, I guess, for hospitals is, at the source of generation of waste is where you want to be separating. You don't want to be having to rely on people down the track, down at the waste stocks to be separating your waste. There's always going to be posing a bit of a risk for anyone to be rummaging through waste and separating and sorting. You just don't want to, have somebody have an injury or, anything like that down the track. So that will lead on to, I guess, our next topic, which is contaminations. And I promise I'll go through everyone's questions at the end. So keep writing the questions, and I will go through them at the end. So if we split down 2, I guess. Yep. So this is probably every person's home, person's business, shopping centres, hospitals, community areas. Anyway, contamination is our biggest challenge. The flow-on effects for contamination basically means that somebody's really hard work of making sure they're separating everything correctly and doing everything right will be ruined if one person does the wrong thing, basically. So, your home, you have your yellow lid recycling bin and you've done the right thing and you haven't put any soft plastics, you've put, rinsed them all out, you've done the right thing, putting all the right products in the right bin. But 2 doors down, Joe Blow's decided that his general waste bin's full, so he's going to chuck it in the recycling. When the truck comes along to pick it all up, it's contaminated. And you get enough of those Joe Blows, and all of a sudden you've got a whole load that's contaminated, and all your hard work and good has gone to ruin. And that's what happens also in the businesses. So there's so many examples of how not doing the right thing can have adverse effects. An example we've got is, and it actually hasn't been any hospitals or anything, I'm proud to say, but other customers that we've always dealt with have had cardboard compactors and continually tipping the cardboard compactor, they've been contaminating. And as a result, the facility that we take the cardboard to has gone, enough's enough. There's too much general waste in all this cardboard. This customer's now banned from coming here and disposing cardboard. So all of a sudden, all their cardboard's now going into the general waste, and we can't do anything about that because the people putting the waste into the receptacle are doing the wrong thing. It's putting the wrong waste in there. So that's a bit of an example of, like your recycling, how that can impact, and it costs the businesses money as well. So it's a lot cheaper to dispose of cardboard. 9 times out of 10, you get a rebate. And it's also a lot cheaper to dispose of your recycling as recycling rather than general waste, because there's waste levies onto every general waste bin. So the government's now put taxes on. So anything that goes to landfill comes with a tax. So, and it's just going to get higher and higher and higher. So it's a lot cheaper it's a lot more environmentally sustainable to recycle correctly. Here are just some examples that I've sort of taken from hospitals where they've put cardboard in a general waste bin, you know, the Schweppes can box that go in your cardboard bin. In the second photo with the green bin, you can't really tell, but that was meant to be a recycling bin. And they've got soft plastics in there, and they've got, it looks like almost like a clinical waste bag. Can't quite remember if it was, but it was a pretty good recycle bin, but then all of a sudden they've contaminated it. And then the final one is like there's a general waste bin bag put into the clinical waste bin. And as you would know, clinical waste is probably the most expensive way to dispose of waste. So you really don't want to be adding to that bill. The other type of contamination is, if, you know, rather than just general products, is clinical waste into general waste or recycling bins. I know it can get confusing, the yellow lid for recycling and yellow medical waste bins. I don't know who thought of these colours, but they didn't think that far ahead, obviously. But it's a big issue that I guess we face. And across Australia with my colleagues, we've sort of spoken about this, and there seems to be a bit of a consensus from a lot of people that just a little bit of, you know, a bloody product into a general waste bin is fine. You know, just a little bit. Like I said, it's a cloth, it's got a bit of stained blood, it's fine, pop it in. And then it keeps adding in, and then the next person does the same thing, and then the next person. And what they don't realise is it goes into gets tipped into a really big compactor that has like a corkscrew that rips open everything and crushes it and compacts it. When that gets ripped open, all of those products that have got blood and contamination, all of that gets mixed through the whole load. And on the off chance that compactor breaks down, waste gets stuck in it, comes back to a say, for example, our yard, and our maintenance crew go in there to try and remove the waste, and they don't realise that it's full of medical waste because it shouldn't be. It's a general waste compactor. And they're not wearing the right safety equipment because they haven't needed to. And they're sifting through all this waste, and all of a sudden they're dealing with bloody product, and they've got blood in bags that are dripping, and, you know, there's tubing with blood and everything in it. And I guess in this sort of current climate where people are very conscious of COVID and any other sort of bloodborne diseases, it poses a really big risk. It is also illegal. So it's a bit of a battle on how do we make sure that people stop that whole, like, it's just a little bit, it'll be fine in the general waste, because, you know, I do it at home. You know, if you have a bloody tissue or something like that at home, you just pop in your general waste, it's fine. At home, it's fine. In the workplace, it's not. I guess anything from a hospital you take with a bit of caution, because you just don't know where it's generated from. And from that, I think it's also been a bit of a space issue is another problem that I guess theatres have had. You know, there's not enough space. So do we just take the general waste bin in and put everything in that and not worry about the clinical or all of that? So it's just trying to work with, I guess, your working environment, and also then working with us. How do we make sure that's happened? Do we put smaller bins in? Do we have something on trolleys or something like that to make your lives easier? Because I guess that's the main aim. You guys are in a hurry. You've got patients coming through, and you know, you want to do the right thing. People who work in hospitals generally don't want to put harm onto others. So how do we work with that? And that's probably where it'd be a really good opportunity to have a talk with your waste management team at the hospital, and then bring in the likes of myself. You know, I work with hospitals, but whoever Viola has a contract with, I come in and do education and talk, you know, answer anyone's questions, try to find new solutions, hear what your issues are and hear what your problems are and what you're trying to achieve. And then we work back with what is it that we can achieve. So from this, I think the main message that I really would love to get out to everybody who's on this is become the waste champions of your own hospital, of your own area, your own ward, all of that. You know, focus on just contamination. If you can just make sure people are putting things in the right bins, then you're doing a huge amount of work for us, and you're going in the right direction. And everyone wants to recycle all sorts of different products, and they all go into different bins and all of that. But if we focus on what you have right now, you're getting the cardboard right, the co-mingle mixed recycling right, and being the waste champions there, do you need more signage? Do you need better signage? Do you need, people to be, more involved and calling out others who are doing the wrong thing? I guess that's where it's like empowering people to do the right thing will save so much down the track, and allow hospitals to then look at investigating and investing into new waste streams, because it comes with a cost. Everything comes with a cost. Let's be honest. I guess we can pop into the next. So then I thought I would close it all up with, where do we think we're going in the future? In overseas, on-site treatment technologies are used a lot. So everything from your organics, and there's quite a few hospitals now that are starting to get on board with having an organics digester, and it's great. There's two options, I guess, you can have. You can have one where you literally just pop all your food scraps into a machine, it has microorganisms, it eats it all up, and then it's connected to your trade waste, and it breaks it right down to it's basically water, and it goes into the trade waste. No more trucks coming to the back dock to pick up bins. It takes that, pressure off landfill, so you don't have food waste going to landfill. And it's a lot cleaner, a lot more hygienic. People aren't having to deal with, messy foods and all that. The second option that is used is a digester that comes with it doesn't break it fully down, so there's a pulp that comes out of it, and that can be then used in the gardens. The water that is used in that is also separated and then can also be used in the garden, and it's really good fertilizer. So there's a whole, circular economy going on there. So the food scraps go in, put into your garden can grow some food. The trade waste is pretty much, I just saw that question pop up. So trade waste is like is sort of your grease traps and all that. So it gets pumped out, and it will generally go to a new organics facility anyway. So they use it to do the wetting of all your organics facilities for turning into compost and fertilizers. They really like that because it has a lot of that nutrients in the water. Yes, it does increase it a bit, but it's still, the truck was always going to be coming to empty your trade waste. So all hospitals and all businesses, with food manufacturing and all that, has a trade waste. So it all just gets pumped out anyway, and it increases it only slightly. But the microorganisms that are in with the organics digester is really healthy for your trade waste. It keeps it nice and clean, gets rid of all the built-up residue.
So the best thing about that is obviously taking trucks off road. The other benefit is it treats the medical waste on site. A lot of it has a lot of plastic base, so it sterilizes, like an autoclave. It sterilizes it, shreds it, and then local councils have actually got involved with this one. And I know a couple that we're sort of in the mix with, and obviously a lot of testing has to go through with all of this, is that they were wanting to take that shredded plasticky waste and turn it into park benches and the likes for council parks and all that kind of stuff. So it's keeping it really local, really closed loop, and I guess solving a massive issue with, rather than having to incinerate everything, and obviously that creates emissions, or you're burying it after you've gone through an autoclave and it's sterilised and it's going to landfill. It kind of changes that whole dynamic with medical waste and clinical waste, which is such a huge outpouring. How it works with the likes of cytotoxic and all that, I'm not 100% sure. But obviously that's we're in a process of just beginning to bring that to Australia. So it's a very small step, and then we'll build it as we go. I know somebody asked a question around, the fact that everything's gone to single use and the washing and all that. Just before COVID hit, we were sort of talking to an American company that does reusable, washable PPE. And obviously, as soon as COVID hit, they just got inundated and can't expand to Australia because they can't keep up with America. And that will then, it's on site. They can sterilise the PPE and wash it on site and then have it reused. So it's saving so much PPE going to landfill, because currently right now there is a huge amount of PPE either being incinerated or going to landfill. My manager is really innovative and he's put out on the ball with so many things, and he's just submitted an application to the federal government. They offer funding for a program called Product Stewardship, which is we're trying to get a lot of medical suppliers and manufacturers involved, where they take a little bit more ownership on what goes into hospitals, and it's sort of a reverse logistics. So what they put into the hospitals, they might then go, once you've used it, we can take it back and have it sent it off for recycling. So very similar to the Baxter's PVC, but on a bigger scale. So Baxter's is literally just one. This product stewardship will be a board of suppliers that can be then all on board with, and then it's one truck delivering the products into the hospital, and then that same truck removing the used products that can be recycled. And then also putting more ownership on the type of packaging that's going into hospitals, putting a bit of ownership on, can we make this a little bit more sustainable? Can we try to change something from the wax paper or use less stickers onto the soft plastics? That kind of stuff. So it's a collaborative approach between the suppliers, the waste companies, and then the hospital. So putting a bit of ownership on what is going into the hospitals that then the hospitals have to output. So